having these conversations with our current students allows me to now work with my faculty and say, okay, how can we build programs that strengthen them beyond the classroom, right? It's the outside of that curriculum, beyond the curriculum, that we really need to make sure that we're focusing on.
You're listening to the CFL Podcast, where possibility is at work. Here, we explore what it means to empower learners, connect communities, create impact, and help Nevada thrive. Each episode shares stories and ideas from the people reimagining what learning can look like in our community and beyond. Because when we learn, build, and dream together, anything is possible.
Hello and welcome to the CFL Podcast. I'm Jeanine Collins, the co-founder and Chief Impact Officer at the Center for the Future of Learning. Today, our guest is Dr. Peltier-Glaze, the Dean of the School of Education at Nevada State University. I've had the opportunity to collaborate, talk, and get to know Dr. Peltier-Glaze, and she has such a beautiful vision of what it means to prepare young people for a future-ready world, and importantly, what it means to broaden the way that we're thinking about preparing educators to prepare young people, support them, and help them thrive. So I look forward to this conversation today, and I'm so thrilled that you are with us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so let's just dive right in.
Okay.
For those who don't know your story, I'd love to hear it. Please share your story.
I start off by saying I started my teaching career as a catechism teacher when I was 16 years old. I say that's where I got my start. I always knew that I loved to teach. You know, I'm in my room and I'm playing and I'm teaching, and my cousins always said that I was really, really bossy and all of that stuff. But yes, I was raised Catholic, and after I went through the confirmation, I started teaching catechism. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was on the speech and debate team, and I would have to go out of town sometimes for tournaments. And so I had a substitute list. You know, my friends were my substitute teachers. And so I tell
people, responsible.
I tell everyone I started my career as a teacher when I was 16 years old. Yeah. And I really just fell in love with the idea of opening the minds of somebody else, right? Yeah. That learning, and when I saw the little ones, because I taught the younger children, and when I saw that light bulb go off, I knew that was something that I wanted to do. That was something that I had to do. You know, in our community, sometimes we say there's a calling, and I knew that was my calling. But I also tell the joke of when I told my father that I wanted to be a teacher. He said, "Marry well." And I said, "I think it's going to be the other way around." Oh. Because teachers, they are the ones who create everyone else, even the man who's going to marry me.
Look at that.
So we joke about how important it is to really understand that it's your passion. It has to be your passion, you know, to be that teacher. And so once again, I still say I started off my career when I was 16 years old as a catechism teacher, then went on, you know, to become an actual classroom teacher, principal, and everything in between. Mm-hmm. I've worked going from Louisiana to Atlanta, Georgia, Yonkers, New York, Houston, Texas, and now here in K-12 and higher ed. And once again, it's just, I've tried a few times, I'll be honest with you, to go in a different direction, only because, you know, the noise sometimes around you. But I could never make that move in a different direction because teaching and learning is too important to me for me to take a detour. And so I've kind of stayed in that lane. And I think the impact that we're trying to have, I can't even really explain sometimes the impact that teachers have. And I think that's where, for me, and I hope along with other educators, we really dig deep so that we can truly communicate the impact to the younger generation who are not sure if they want to come into this field.
Yeah.
That we're able to really communicate to them that impact that they will make, the impact that I see that I've made, changing lives, trajectory of families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think back to when I was a classroom teacher and some work that I was doing, collaborative work with other educators. And I think something I said to a group of people, I said, you know, I think most of us probably did this because on some level we wanted to change the world. And I think that more often than not, that is a part of what I have seen in a lot of educators' journeys is a belief that by investing in the relationships and the unlocking of knowledge and ideas and helping people draw connections and finding their sense of purpose inside these knowledge areas that we're so passionate about, that it's really transformative internally, which means, you know, you're shaping a whole life.
Yes.
And that is meaningful. And I think, you know, while you're not a classroom teacher in this moment, and I am not either, the heart of what we do is still very much that.
Yes.
And it leads me to wonder, you know, at CFL we talk about the future of learning a lot. And I think there's a distinction between, you know, education has its own conversation,
Right.
its own talking points, its own set of things that we talk about when we talk about school, right? Curriculum, Tier 1 instruction, like all of the things that mean something to people who are in classrooms working with kids. I call it the business of school,
Yes.
right? And I think that there is a recognition sometimes that the business of schools, the concept of that has almost narrowed the things that we talk about and almost sometimes squeezes out space for people who've come into the profession because they want to change lives.
Yes.
It feels like that's not what they get to do. And so I think a lot of times we say a lot of things when we're talking about the future of learning, but one of the things that we're really talking about, I think, is connection, purpose, helping prepare people for their lives and not just to do well in school.
Right.
And the recognition that sometimes doing well in school doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to do all the things that you need to do in the world of work or even just decision making and problem solving in your life. That those aren't really, if you do this, then this will happen. So all of that is to say, my friend Bernnell, when did this concept where we're in agreement around the need to explore the future of learning, how did that start to come about for you in your journey in education?
I was one of those individuals who said higher ed, higher ed, higher ed, higher ed.
Okay.
That's all I preached. You've got to go to college. You've got to go to college. And, you know, as individuals, if we're not evolving, then we just should just sit down and just watch the world change around us.
Okay.
And so I'm one that I like to evolve. And as I was evolving and observing and interacting with individuals and young children and older individuals who are still students, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. There's pathways, different pathways. And we have to make sure that we're preparing them for those different pathways. So my interactions allowed me to, I allowed myself, should I say, from the interactions to really sit back and listen, hear, observe. What are the needs? I was forcing something that I thought was the best thing.
Yeah.
Not understanding that I had to listen to what would be the best thing for that individual, those individuals. And even if their path was to go to college, higher ed, what does that look like, right? It shouldn't be one size fits all. That's the traditional model that we use for everything, even now.
Yeah.
But we can't continue to have classrooms that look like the classrooms that I sat in or classrooms that look like the classrooms I taught in. And I realized that through teaching and interacting and developing relationships. You said that earlier.
Yes.
Relationships. Oftentimes when we talk about classroom management, right? Relationships. And through those relationships, I was able to hear, Miss Peltier, I don't know what I want to do. Miss Peltier, I'm not sure if college is for me. Now, years before, I would have said, what do you mean? College isn't for you. Absolutely. You must. That's the only way you can succeed in life, is to go to college. I still believe that's one of the ways to succeed in life, is to go to college. But if we're not meeting our students where they are and really tapping into their skill set and preparing them for what they are passionate about doing, then we're missing an opportunity to really, really better our communities.
I love how you're describing that listening and empathy are the things that helped you sort of excavate this sort of unmet need that was existing within your students, which was not to like learn how to advance through the system that they were in, but was to really unpack, like, who am I? What do I care about? How do I connect and belong? How am I going to contribute anything? I mean, those weren't all the exact questions they were asking, but that was what was sitting underneath the things they were offering you. And I think that that's a really beautiful way to describe what we think about when we think about innovative learning, is that it's really about listening and meeting people where they are. And I think also meeting them from an assets-based mindset, not a deficits one, not one like, you're not on your way to college, therefore you are bad. Therefore, I need to fix something about you. As opposed to, who are you? What do you care about? What are you curious about? And how do I nurture that to help you move down your path? And I think that's all well and good. I think a lot of people might agree with us. And then when you, right? Not everybody, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. This is why we have these conversations. But even if you do, then the next layer beneath that is then how do you start to operationalize the belief that you can meet people where they are, that it's okay for them to go in multiple directions. And that's where I think it gets a little scary.
Yes,
for,
absolutely.
Systems that are built very rigidly in very specific ways with very clear definitions of success. And I mean, that's a lot. And we haven't even started to talk about policy. I'm just thinking about the things that we have to the threads we have to pull on. But this is just the heart of the mindset shift, right? Is that maybe just in fact, this young person who doesn't know all these things is perfectly okay. And perfectly awesome. And it's about helping them figure those things out, not necessarily just proving a set of things. And I do think that sometimes these conversations happen and it feels like it's an either or. Well, that means they don't have to learn math and reading if they're going to go this direct. And that's not what we're talking about either. It's just we have such a narrow definition in some ways. It's like, how do we really open this up? And so I'm really appreciating that empathy and listening are at the heart of what started to transform your belief about this broader vision. And so I think I want to take this to this next conversation, which is, you are focused on preparing educators. And so what are the implications for what we're talking about when we think about the profession of education and the role of an educator inside the system as it is and inside maybe the future of the system that we're hoping to build?
That's a loaded one.
I mean,
And that's a good one. Teacher preparation programs across the board really need to be honest about how we're preparing our future teachers. We think outside of the box a lot, and we're very innovative in our conversations, right? we have all these wonderful ideas and what we're getting ready to do, and we're going to change curriculum, and we're going to go in a different direction, and we have all of these wonderful conversations. But then we have a tendency to just go back to how we've been doing it, the traditional way. And so it's finding how to make that conversation actually real, bring it to reality, right? Like, so we can sit and we talk about it. But then how do we make sure that we are implementing it? How do we make sure that when we talk about and change curriculum, that we really change curriculum into pedagogy, right? How do we make that curriculum come alive into our pedagogy? And really staying connected to the school districts. We tend to sometimes work in isolation.
Well, that is not the first time that that's been said. And I don't think we're the only context that does it. I'm starting to learn as well. But it's a true statement.
And sometimes individuals in higher ed can think that we should be teaching them, the districts, as opposed to the districts have something to teach us as well.
Yeah.
So it's a give and take, really.
Yeah.
But we're the experts in higher ed, right?
Yeah.
That's
we
what
were talking
we
about
say.
that. Yes.
We're the experts in higher ed. We can teach them how to do this instead of how do we sit at the table and have a real conversation about theory and practice, right? Let's have a real conversation about theory and practice.
Well, and there's, we know so much more about learning science and neuroscience and the brain
Yes.
and than we did 20 years ago.
Yes.
And so there's a lot that remains. I think what we know from Vygotsky, what we know from John Dewey, I think all of these things are very relevant still. And we understand the need to apply what we're learning in order for ideas to stick, the kinds of environmental and relationship things that need to be true for any learner to succeed. They need certain conditions, right?
Yes.
And so I think that when you talk about theory and practice, I think about we just haven't really even bridged the gap between, what new knowledge and research is showing us and how our systems and our schools and even in some cases our teacher preparation are designed to intersect. And I mean, no shade on anyone because this is complex work. It takes time, right? And it's a human endeavor. And we humans are complicated when it comes to change. We don't do it easily.
No, we don't.
Even for someone who loves it, we all have a resistance to it. And so I think it's really human of you to say, it's easy. It's the talking. We're excited to talk and look at the ideas, and then what are the really tangible things we can do to now operationalize what we mean when we say we need to meet kids where they're at. We need to meet. I'm hearing you even speak about the shift of an educator a little bit outside of maybe just being the expert. And I heard you kind of say it through the lens of higher education as just the expert, but this more, how do we sit at a table in a collaborative approach? And it makes me think of when I think of the Portrait of a Nevada Learner work, I think there's this invitation to reframe the way that we think about agency, who has it, and really creating the space for learners of all ages to come together in a room and say, here's my expertise, and then here's my expertise. Almost like how do we co-design together a little bit more? And the pendulum can swing really broadly, from one direction to another. I think we're talking about somewhere maybe more in the middle here.
Well, I don't think we intend to. When I say we, higher ed, teacher preparation programs, we don't intend to stay traditional. Like we really have good intentions when we're talking about being innovative and creative.
Yes.
We really have good intentions and we really want to do that. Barriers, there's lots of barriers, right? When it comes to that. So it's like, okay, I'm great, I'm getting ready to do this, and then a policy is put into place or funding is not there. And so it starts to be, okay, well, we'll have to shift a little bit. We may have to redirect. So the thoughts are still there. We still want to accomplish those things, but sometimes we're our own barrier sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, when we don't work around things that come our way, we don't work hard enough to come up with different solutions because this one thing didn't come through. What's another possible way? And I use that as an example because that's modeling what we would want our students to do,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to model that even in our programs through things that funding gets shifted, or we thought we were going to get $1 million, but we only got 200,000.
Yep.
Do we just sit down and say, oh, we can't do it? And the answer should be, we still can. It just won't look the same.
Yeah. What can we do?
Right. Going
Yeah.
back to that speaking in positive tones, not from the deficit model, but
Yeah.
from the asset
And
model.
what's possible.
Yes.
All right. This might not be possible
Right.
now, but something is possible.
Right.
Let's figure out that possibility.
Exactly.
So, what are some tangible things that you're starting to endeavor at Nevada State? Because I know that you are somebody who has really been observing and understanding the community and looking at our assets and looking at opportunities. I'd love to hear from you. Like, what is exciting you about what is possible right now at Nevada State?
There's so much opportunity
Yeah.
that I see, not just at Nevada State, but Nevada as a whole, Las Vegas, Henderson area. And when I talk about opportunities, coming from a state where, you know, they will say, we have it all together, right? The state where I came from. We have it all together. And so coming here with, they were every I was dotted, every T was crossed, and but that state was established years, hundreds, thousands, whatever. This is a new opportunity, right? And there's lots of things that, as I'm observing and having conversations with people, and I'm networking, and I'm in spaces with you all, right? To hear about the portrait of a learner, to hear about how the different commissions and committees and all of these organizations are coming together to talk about the future of our students, the future of our learners, and how that looks.
Yeah.
Just the conversation itself presents the opportunity to say, listen, we are not going to just say, this is how we're doing it. We've always done it that way. No, we're going to assess it, look at it, and determine together collectively. I don't think we're 100% there, but we're sitting at the table having those conversations about, listen, we see some gaps, right? We know that we need to do things differently. That's, to me, that's opportunity in itself, that the conversations are being held, that we have identified and recognized, and we're not just saying, oh, you know what, our students aren't doing well, or this is broken, and we're just sitting there and not doing anything. We're actually having the conversations. We're actually talking about what are the possibilities. What is it that we can do? We're listening to our young children, our youth. We're actually listening to them.
Yeah.
And for me, I get excited about that. And I see all kinds of opportunities for how we design our classrooms, how we design learning. And it just cannot look the same, like I said, when I was in the classroom or when I taught in the classroom. Our students now really have the intelligence that we have not tapped into to really help guide us, to teach them the way that they will best serve our communities. That opportunity, that's for me, our young people, and those conversations with our young people present an opportunity that I think that we're still trying to get it right. But we're in the right direction. We're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that there is a I think as you're speaking about the spaces that are alive right now in our community, I mean, there are, I think we're collectively asking some really big questions. Yes. And I think we are asking questions like, what does it look like to create learning experiences where people are filled with like a sense of purpose and joy, that they are ready for a multiplicity of options upon graduation, with the recognition that the learning that they do in higher education or through the military or in a job is not going to be the end of their learning journey. It's going to be a continual thing they're going to do across their lives because of the rapid change that we're experiencing with technology and AI. Like we are, like learning is not something you're just going to go do and then maybe do a little bit more after high school and then you're done, you got your degree and then you're just like set. Like the trajectory of our lives is just really shift. We're living in a shift. Yes. And I think people are recognizing that. We're talking about it. I don't know that we're normed up on all of the implications yet, right? But I think to your point, we're constructing legislative roadmaps that are informed deeply by stakeholder experiences, and young people are at the table in all of these spaces, which is very exciting. I think I'm wondering, like, there's so many wonderful programs that Nevada State is a part of that are really building the workforce and pipeline of educators into the profession. And you mentioned this, that we really need to help young people see the value of their impact, of the potential of being an educator, right? Just the human value of being in a learning relationship with other people. What are you seeing? Like, what are you seeing? Like, I think I would say that, like, young people are in a time of shift and thinking about these things too. How is that exciting and challenging at Nevada State as you're building the pipeline into the future of learning? Like the people who are going to lead it.
I try to walk the classrooms as much as I can. I don't walk them as much as I would like to, but that gives me the opportunity to really talk to our students, right? And to just listen and hear what they're saying about why they want to be in education. I always ask that question. Why did you choose to become a teacher? And the responses are, I will hear, I want to be the teacher that I didn't have, or I want to be the teacher that I did have. And I say, okay, tell me a little bit more, okay? So you saw a model of what you didn't like, and you saw a model of what you did like. But what about you? What about you that makes you want to be a teacher? How do you see yourself in that classroom, and what is pulling you, attracting you to be in that classroom? And I'll hear the same things that we just said before. I want to make a difference. I understand that there are students who may not have the type of environment at home, and so when they come into the schools, they're looking for someone to motivate them, someone to encourage them. And so having these conversations with our current students allows me to now work with my faculty and say, okay, how can we build programs that strengthen them beyond the classroom, right? Because we're going to follow our curriculum. We're going to do that. But our curriculum doesn't always address everything that our students deal with. It's the outside of that curriculum, beyond the curriculum, that we really need to make sure that we're focusing on. So when our current students have these conversations, when I first got here, maybe a couple of months afterwards, I said, you know what, we really need to develop a professional development series for our students, something that allows them to go beyond. So that, let's say they take a course and they are like, okay, well, we got everything we needed out of this course, but we need a little bit more that the course didn't have the time, right?
Sure.
To offer those things, like how do we engage with parents? Okay. How do we make sure that we are understanding how finances work in our lives? Because that is a huge, that's a huge impact for a lot of our students, their financial mobility, their financial ways of handling. Like, how do I handle my own finances and be able to be knowledgeable when I go into the classroom for our students who come in with needs. If I don't understand that finance is a problem, then how do I address that student that comes in who is feeling a certain kind of way because they can't participate maybe in an activity because they don't have the financial means? Our curriculums don't address that directly often.
Yeah.
So we have to create these workshops or these spaces outside of that. These are the types of programs when we talk about what are we doing, what programs are we trying to build? We're trying to build on top of our existing programs, the stuff that we can't fit into the 8 weeks or 16 weeks, but we know that our students need these skills. They need to be able to have these types of conversations to connect not only with the students that they're going to teach, but with their parents, right?
Yep.
They need to be able to make that connection, develop that relationship, and parents and students need to, I don't know if our young adults still say, I see you. They want, I want to be seen. They want to be seen. And that's not part of our curriculum, the day-to-day curriculum. That's something that we have to teach our students beyond.
Well, and it's not something that we've typically measured, right? Like, what is your ability to see another human being?
Right.
How do you measure that?
Right.
And I mean, I think there's ways you can start to describe it, when you've experienced being seen by another person. Yeah. But I think we're developing, in my free time, I like to do a lot of leadership podcasting. I'd love to say I'm doing more reading than I am, but I'm doing a lot of podcasting in my free time. There's a plug for our platform right now. And I think we're really developing language around leadership that speaks to empathy and some of these durable skills that we're saying are important in the portrait that are not typical in traditional leadership approaches or KPIs or measurements, right? And I think we're seeing that conversation starting in school and schooling and learning and where those things are connected and disconnected and what does that mean to address the whole person and recognizing that this educator is going to be deeply entrenched, hopefully, in the lives of the people that they're engaging with and their families. And it is if we're going to do this complex human work, we have to really relate to each other in new ways. And it can't just be, this thing.
Right.
And it can't just be, this thing that AI knows better than you now.
Right.
So like the superpower of an educator is going to be their ability to be a human that the AI could never be.
Right.
And then figure out how to leverage and utilize all of these skills and all of our human skills and all of our technical expertise in a direction to help young people know who they are and what they're good at and pursue their curiosities.
And I have to put a plug in for my faculty. I really do.
Yeah.
They do an exceptional job of getting to know our students. I think that's so important. I kind of pause a little bit because I reflect on experience I've had when, in the beginning you said, I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly.
Yes.
Extremely important.
Yes.
Right? And I reflect on these experiences of when I was in the classroom and I had to make sure that I pronounced my students' names correctly. Yeah. And I didn't say to them, come here, young man or young lady. Even though that's respectful, calling their name gives them value and gives them worth. And the faculty in the School of Education, I see that. They really take their time to make sure that they know their students, their strengths, their weakness, their areas for improvement. And that transcends, for now, the student knows when they become a teacher, these are the types of connections that they need to make.
Yeah.
It's important that our students, especially these days, it's important that our students know that somebody believes in them. I had conversations with a few students. We have a program, our TAP program, our Teacher Academy pipeline program, concurrent dual enrollment. The high schoolers come to campus and we talk to them about being a teacher, maybe different careers. Some of them want to, go in a different route. And that's okay. We just want you to be exposed, right? And sometimes when I'm talking to the students and I'm saying certain things, I'll look out into the audience. And one time I looked out into the audience and one of the students was crying. And so I said I want to talk to this young lady. I pull her to the side. I don't want to speak to her in front of her peers. I want to just, understand what's going on. And she said that was the first time that someone told her that she could be somebody. What we do is extremely important as educators. Extremely important. And it starts with us just simply believing in that person that walks into the classroom. That's where it starts. And for them to get from high school to NSU or any other university, right, it's a make it or break it for them. We could either continue to have them love education and learning, I'm going to say learning, or we can turn them away from learning. And once again, shout out to my faculty. They do an awesome job of making sure that our students are working hard to make sure that our students want to continue, on the route of being a student in the love of learning. Where is it that going to take you? It's going to take you into the classrooms, and hopefully your students will now have a love of learning.
Yeah, and I love that. It seems like this thread of listening, building relationships and connections, which is very foundational to the vision of bringing the power of the portrait to life in classrooms, is pretty foundational to the way you're thinking about and advancing innovative programming at NSU that connects to this idea that, hey, what are students, these unmet needs that they have, we need to meet them. And if that means giving them experiences that aren't in our typical teacher preparation coursework, we need to find a way to start creating those experiences so that they're able to take that into being a human with other human beings that they're going to be responsible for connecting and building up. And I think, when I'm reading future forecasts on the profession and, all of this, like, what is a teacher going to be? Like, people are like, oh, AI is going to take over the role of an educator. And I think it's going to change the role of an educator. But I don't know. I have no fear about, as a parent, as an educator, I have no fear about the need for great humans to be with littler great humans and helping them, right? And I think that thinking about how we can design systems that support human educators being great at what they are great at, and that they are irreplaceable. It's like you're irreplaceable as a human being, quite frankly, in that regard. And finding ways to leverage technology into the equation, right?
Absolutely.
That's exciting, but I don't think that I don't worry about that piece. But I do worry that if all we talk about are things like if we keep defining success in a narrow set of metrics, it will make the teacher feel irrelevant.
Yes, yes.
And they're not.
No.
You know? So
Right.
I think I so appreciate your partnership in the work that we're collectively building across
Yes.
our state, because I think we really are trying to broaden what we mean when we say success.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So looking ahead, what's something that you believe? You're in these rooms. We're having these conversations. I appreciate how you explain Nevada in our developmental journey. We're at the younger end, not the older end, right? And that's great. I'm a parent of a middle schooler and an elementary age kid. That is different. I used to teach high school. You know, we're at a different place in our progression. We're talking, we're building, we're starting to create new models. We're experimenting and learning and growing together. Yes. I know we're going to be successful. Wave that wand 5 years from now. What's something that's going to happen that you're excited about, that you see as possible?
But, I think it's a great place to be right
now.
So I make the statement that Nevada is younger, but that's not a bad thing.
No,
it really isn't. It's going back to that opportunity, right? There's so many possibilities that I see. I get excited about just talking about, okay, where are we going, where are we headed, what are we doing? Let's have these conversations. Let's talk about what it looks like for our students. We're right in the middle of, okay, nothing is set in stone. Some people will say it's set in stone, you can't change it, right? That's what they'll say. Let's not have that conversation. Why do we have to look at doing things differently? Why, if it's not broken, why try to fix it? But is it broken? Is it? Do we need to improve it? We have identified that, yes, there's room for growth, right? We do need to make some changes. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I see us partnering more with our youth because in the spaces that I've been, there's always been a young adult in the room.
Yep.
And I get excited about that.
Yeah.
To hear how they think, right? And to start asking them questions about, so what do you think about this project? And to hear them just chop it up. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We don't know why you would even think that we would want to do something like that.
I mean, we have a lot of answers, actually, I think is what you're also getting at. And what you're illuminating for me is that if we keep centering the expertise, the voices, the perspectives of young people, as I did when I was teaching, and they told me when I was off, and if I was brave enough to listen, we got on track really fast, right? I think they know a lot about what they need. Right. We just have to be brave enough to build the thing they're saying.
Yes.
And they're there to help us do it. Right. I don't think in the rooms we're in the spaces we're creating with higher education, PK-12, with community partners, young people are at the table as, I think, partners in building what's next. I think it's exciting.
And they need to be at the table, but at the same time, I sit in these spaces with young adults who also, for the most part, will listen to what we're saying as well.
Yeah.
Right? And it becomes that true collaboration. I appreciate when I'm in the rooms and we're having conversation and not everyone is agreeing with each other.
Yep.
Right? We're having these difficult conversations, but we're having those conversations to come to some kind of resolution that we all can agree on, right? That it's never going to be 100%, but there's some consensus in the room. We're agreeing that our students need to be workforce ready. What does that look like, though, right? So we're talking about changing what happens inside of our schools to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our communities at every level, right? We're not sitting. I can reiterate this over and over how much I appreciate the conversations that we have about, okay, so we've identified that there's something that we need to do something about. Let's just put it that way. So
Yeah.
it's not a negative thing, but depending on who you talk to, we have to be careful that it doesn't come across negative. Someone said to me the other day that teachers can be their worst enemy because sometimes when they're in the classrooms and they're complaining about the conditions, they're not aware that they're complaining and the students are hearing them. And so it comes across as if they're not happy, but that's not the case. They just didn't present it in a way that seemed positive to the students. So when we talk about we're having conversations about improvement, we're not saying that it's not a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing that we have sat down and said, listen, there's some areas that we know that we need to grow, and we're just not going to sit and not do anything about it. We're actually going to have conversations with all parties and think through, talk through, get to a point of action and implementation so that we can see the change so that our students can thrive in a community that is better for everyone, right? But how does that look? How do we make sure that we design it correctly? That's the conversations, right? We continue to have those conversations about let's not continue to do what we've always done.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think we're going to be in a different place as a result of the work we're doing together right now. And I do think that the work we're doing, what I'm hearing you say is that it's infinite. And this work in continuous improvement, we're never going to stop listening. There's not really a finish line to that. And I think for us at CFL, I think we really believe that we're just always going to be in the cycle of listening, connecting, building, amplifying what's working, and continuing to keep doing it. And I think we're building the muscles for that work ongoing right now.
Absolutely.
And I think we all agree teacher preparation is a critical part of that conversation for long-term change.
Yeah, it has to be. Looking at the future of learning, right? We first have to look at how our students learn. And they learn, the way they learn is very different than the way I learned, right? And teacher preparation has to understand that.
Yeah.
We have to understand that we have to teach them the way they learn, not the way we want to teach. So that looks different, right? And it's not, when I went through teacher prep, it was you teach down the middle. We can't do that anymore.
No.
Differentiated instruction, scaffolding, making sure that, it's our students who, if they're at they may be at different levels, different subjects all at the same time. Teacher preparation programs, we need to make sure that we're preparing our future educators to understand that you're going to have to shift and multitask and be ready at any given time for that student that's in your classroom. They're not all on the same level because they don't learn the same way. And we have to tap into how they learn and make sure that we are delivering instruction the way that they can receive it and learn that information. That's very different and it's challenging, but it's exciting. That's opportunity.
Yep, it is. And I agree with you. Our young people will continue to help guide the way if we listen. Well, Dr. Bernnell Peltier-Glaze, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you. And thank you for being a part. Thank you to Nevada State for being a part and really a partner in thinking and building the next steps of what's possible. We appreciate you
for having me, and I am enjoying the work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You're listening to the CFL Podcast, where possibility is at work. Here, we explore what it means to empower learners, connect communities, create impact, and help Nevada thrive. Each episode shares stories and ideas from the people reimagining what learning can look like in our community and beyond. Because when we learn, build, and dream together, anything is possible.